Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, we're on?
Welcome to places where we don't know.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Do you know? Did you know that this is called I Don't Know?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you sure about that? Sounds
I'm
like
not
you
really
don't
sure.
know. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm
in case
Kevin.
anybody forgot, Kevin. This
He's
is
Sam.
Kevin. I'm Sam.
Like the card.
I'm like the card. I'm also like the Indonesian driver's license. You know what? I really want to speak my truth to you today, Kevin. I feel like I trust you.
Good.
I feel like I really want to talk to you about the truth. First of all, what is the truth? First of all, what's the lie?
You tell me.
What's the lie? Like, you know, if we can't establish objective truth, then what is a lie?
Well, define to me what you believe truth is.
Truth is... Oh, God, that's a great question.
What is truth?
Anybody know what truth is? Can you guys tell us? If you know what truth is, email us at we don't know what truth is at idontknow.com.
So no, go ahead. Keep going.
No, okay, so you know, we're talking about speaking our truth today. So I feel like truth is, especially speaking your truth, is speaking from a place of what you believe to be the right thing to say and be and what feels right.
Based on your understanding at that moment.
Yeah, but on your worldview, on your situation, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. How did you come to that truth?
Experience, life.
Okay.
Like, you know, you kind of as you go through life, you build up like a mental model, or like a you build an understanding of the world through your own experiences.
Okay.
And then that defines my truth, at least.
Okay.
Is that the truth, or am I wrong about that?
No. Who or what experiences sort of formed that, sort of molded it?
Usually the bad ones.
Okay. Well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Mother, father, important figures in your life, cultures.
Yeah. Religions.
Yeah. They all have their slant on what the truth is.
And I feel like the mass psychology has a huge part to play in it. Like, depending on which era you're born in, your truth may be defined by the world that was around you, what was going on situationally, you know.
Yeah.
Like simple ideas, like some people's truth is that, you know, the world is a dangerous place. They think about the world as if it's a dangerous place.
Sure.
Maybe they've seen it on the news. Maybe they've lived through something. I know people who've been through wars. They're you know, they're much less reticent to like trust people, because they feel like, you know, the world can go to hell in a handbasket at any moment.
Sure,
You know?
because you can't really speak your truth in those kind of environments, because it usually can mean some kind of severe retribution or death.
Yeah. So what does that do? Because like we were talking about, I've seen a lot of people who didn't speak their truth, and it causes a huge detriment in their life.
Well, you know, when you're talking about that, it can be different cultures, like you're talking about, whether it was World War. I mean, this is on a larger cultural scale.
Yeah.
You know, you can also take it more to a microcosm into the family. Same thing.
Yeah.
Where you may feel threatened, you may be under emotional stress and anxiety based on experiences that were shown to you and you had to go through growing up. So culturally, it can be individually, it can be, you know, family and the family nucleus. So truth, when we were really talking about truth, to be able to speak your truth, for oftentimes when we were talking about those kinds of situations, you have to alter the truth in the sense that you either withdraw from speaking it, or you find a way in more of a silent nature to navigate it, the truth. But when you are in an environment where you have the ability to speak the truth, and let's just talk about a perfect example, somebody that we know, that you were just mentioning earlier, that a woman that you knew, that really wasn't able to speak, wasn't, you know, thyroid issues, voice, you know, being able to speak her truth. And, you know, it's really common for a lot of people not to be able to really speak their truth, because what we do is we sort of navigate life in different personas, okay? That I'm going here, this is what I want and need, okay? And sometimes the truth gets thwarted. But if you're really lucky and fortunate that you were in an environment where you felt comfortable to speak your truth and share what it is that was important to you.
Yeah, that adds a huge amount of value to your existence, and also allows you to flourish as a person. Because I feel like that not speaking the truth, it's directly tied to not living the fullest version of yourself, or feeling like you're not getting to live the fullest version of yourself.
Yeah.
And that then manifests itself in many different ways. Might be physical issues, might be feeling like you're not fulfilled in life. You're not heading in the right direction. And nowadays, I feel like it's such a big thing, where you're the mass hypnosis that's going on. It makes it so that you have to speak the truth that you're told to speak.
Yeah, true. I mean, especially with what's going on in the world now, the powerful few are kind of trying to dictate what's coming,
yeah,
and actually what's here. And again, we talked about it before, that a lot of people are very quiet. I think you used the word sheeple or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, there's a small percentage of people who are speaking out, and professional people and doctors and so forth, that usually what happens is when they do speak their truth,
yeah,
there's strong retribution.
Of course, and they know that, and to speak it in the face of that is a pretty brave thing to do, but it's still so necessary.
Yeah, yes, it is. I mean, if we really want to live a life of of integrity, of respectfulness, of a certain sense of, I don't want to say morality, that, we as cultures need to have some sort of baseline, that we can all live and trust and understand,
Yep.
How to live and navigate the world as sort of a basis. If we don't have that, and if you're in fear and anxiety, I mean, anything can rule at that point, because, like you said, it affects the physical body, the immune system, all of that. It changes the acidity level in the body, the pH. It does many, many things.
So wait, can you go into deeper into that, like some of the aspects of that, like what physical things have you seen to manifest? Let's start with physical.
Okay, well, yeah, it's always wonderful to work with the four bodies: the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual.
Yep.
Okay. One of the things I know is that the emotional, when it's out of balance, it will affect the physical, no question.
Yep.
Depending upon the severity of what it is that's not being spoken or that's been repressed.
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, the emotional is really important. I think it's one of the key factors in human history right now is the heart. Okay, and speaking our truth, living from those two places. Yeah. So yeah, when you don't speak your truth, again, you probably learned it at a very early age. Those experiences were compounded, cumulative, meaning it same sort of originated somewhere, and it just got layered on top of, over the years of your life, that you kept that pattern of behavior. And yeah, we've talked a lot about this, that, the body can react or go inward and turn in on itself, okay? Or you can have maladies, dis-ease, which I've shared before, that dis-ease is basically dis-ease in the body. It's a vibration. Everything in the universe is vibration. When you look at, when we talked about the Rife machine, they could cure things. Yeah. How do they cure it? On a level of vibration. Our voice is vibration. It's a particular, every one of our voices has a unique signature to us. There's no two the same. I don't care if people who do impressions, when they're recorded and analyzed, you can tell that it's not the same person.
Yeah, of course.
So, speaking your truth. So basically, speaking your truth is simply what I feel and think is what is in alignment ultimately with my own beingness.
And you made a great point about the heart. The heart, I feel like the heart always knows the truth.
Yeah, the heart and the intuition.
Yeah, it almost like, no matter what you're saying out loud, no matter what mask you may wear to the world, if you're not speaking from your heart, that's even a phrase, like a that's a saying, speaking from the heart.
Yeah, speaking from the heart.
If you're speaking from your gut, from your heart, it just feels good. It feels like you're living your life. I know so many people who've made it a mission to actually not say or do anything that's not in alignment with that.
Yeah.
And they feel like life is so much more worth living because you get to be yourself. It may be weird. It may be something different. It may be something that's just not normal.
Yeah.
But living that is much better than being closed off and being shut down and having to put on a mask and be a certain.
Sure.
Right? So we talked about like physical manifestations of it.
Sure.
What about like spiritual or other?
Well, spiritual, everything's spiritual, even if you don't speak your truth. There's a lesson to be learned. And my belief and understanding is that we came into this physical apparatus, this beautiful body,
Yep.
It's been given to us as a gift to experience things.
Which includes not speaking your truth. And
Yeah,
seeing other
sometimes. Sometimes, how do you know what speaking your truth is like unless you have never, and you didn't speak your truth?
Yeah.
So, see, we live in a world of duality, but if you grew up in a healthy family environment or an environment that allows you to speak and you're vocal and you're allowed to be heard,
Yep.
and, again, speaking your truth doesn't necessarily mean speaking what I think is truth and ramming it down other people's throats.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah.
But speaking your truth is simply sharing what it is that you feel that's most in alignment with you.
Yeah. So what are some things where what are some beneficial things you've seen for people who aren't speaking their truth?
Some beneficial things?
Yeah, like some therapy, something that helps them release that.
Oh, wait a minute. Say that again because I misunderstood what you asked.
So, like what are some things? What are some therapies or strategies that they can use that would help them
Speak the truth?
speak the truth? Other than obviously just speaking the truth, because we like to figure out all the different angles.
Yeah. I'll share a quick story. I do the sound healing at the Pyramids of Chi, and I had a young woman who came out, and what I noticed over the 4 or 5 years doing it, that sound and vibration really invokes or provokes or releases emotional trauma or things in people. I had a young woman come out one day and she was so in tears and I knew something was going on. And she said, I have something, like you said, stuck in my throat. I can't swallow. Something's wrong. She said, I need your help. I said, great, sit down. I've done this with hundreds of people. And I said, what are you not saying in the world that you need to say and you know what it is? She looked at me very sheepishly. I don't know. I said, yes, you do.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
Took her 1 nanosecond. She said, I know what it is. I said, good. Say it right now in front of me out loud.
Yeah.
Right now. I can't do that. Real quiet. I said, there's the door. I can't help you. So she goes, I can't do that either. So I said, just speak it. You're in a safe place.
Yeah.
I'm not going to harm you.
Yeah.
And she began to speak it real quietly, and then louder, then louder, then louder, and then all of a sudden she's screaming it.
Yeah.
And you could literally see her whole field of energy, she was just another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so she finally spoke what she had never said. And when you really look at it, because that's a defense mechanism, it probably kept her safe from being harmed at an early age.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it had a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But in her case, she was ready to let it go and to begin to speak her truth. And her whole world shifted. She looked at me with these eyes that were just beaming and sort of smiling at this point,
Yeah.
and said, I didn't think it could be that easy. So speaking the truth.
Yeah. So in that situation, would you say like it was the fact that you held the space,
Absolutely.
and created a safe environment,
Absolutely.
allowed her to speak?
Those are the 2 of the main ingredients for any kind of helpful therapy.
Yeah.
Period.
Somebody to hold space and somebody to create the right environment.
And to listen, to be heard.
Yeah.
Okay? And to sit with them long enough until they're ready. When I do this kind of work with people, I had another young woman who I was teaching gongs to and so forth and so on. And all of a sudden, I started chanting.
Yeah.
And I said, please chant. Your voice is the most powerful instrument you have.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
She just looked at me. I can't. I said, what do you mean you can't?
Hmm.
Just follow me. I can't. What do you mean you can't? And then I brought her, guided her through it and got to a point. She literally got up, walked away from me. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And just off into another room.
Yeah.
I could see who it was. It was a little girl that was present.
Yeah.
And so she came back because I looked at her and I said, I'm going to be here all day with you
Yeah.
because you're here for the day.
Yeah.
I said, I'll sit here until you turn purple.
Yeah.
And I'll hold that space. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I just sat there and using the bowl, and I was just chanting and doing, and she would sit there, and I'd see her trying to attempt it. I said, I wouldn't just. I said, beautiful, just whatever wants to come. And all of a sudden, a little whoop came out, and then another bigger whoop came out.
Yeah.
So, and then it kind of grew from there.
Yeah. So you actually touched on a really good point that I wanted to circle back to. You said not being heard.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
there's two sides to this thing. One is literally not speaking your truth,
Yeah.
and the other is not being heard, which is almost the same thing as not feeling like you're not getting to speak your truth.
Sure.
Right, because when
Yeah.
when that space isn't being, and especially like I've noticed this with parents. I mean, Indian parents especially,
Yeah.
where it's like whatever the child says, it's just like ignore it. It's a child, you know, and it's really like
Yeah.
that's a small human trying to learn and communicate and connect with you, and like you know, and that same thing carries into like by the time you're 15, 16, that's when you start to be given the facility, and by that time the damage is done basically.
Well,
a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's kind of sealed the doorway for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it's culturally. Well, I don't even want to say that.
Yeah.
It's across all culture.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Indian, you're Polish, you're German, you're whatever.
Yeah.
It's across the board that we as human beings, at one time or not in our life,
Yep.
we haven't spoken the truth.
Yeah, I mean it's, you know, it is like you said, it is part of life that like sometimes you do moderate what you're saying because you don't want to shove things down people's throats. That's a different thing. But where have you seen, you know, what are a few commonalities between people who don't speak their truth? Like, where did that trauma come from?
Well,
sometimes.
The trauma usually comes from the family or an extended family. It's usually, and that's like what we talked about earlier. You're in a war-torn nation and you've been in war for thousands of years. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But yeah, oftentimes it's from the family. You know,
childhood.
They're continuing their dysfunction of not speaking the truth and living out a dysfunctional pattern of behavior.
Yeah, and it's always been funny to me that like, you know, there's these things where we've all gone through it. We've all gone through childhood. We've all gone through teenage. We've all gone through those periods where we know what it's like to be in that situation. And I remember, you know, going through teenage years and thinking like, not even teenage, like I was about 10, and I remember wanting to have intelligent conversations with adults because I just loved intriguing conversations. But I was rarely given that opportunity.
You weren't valued.
I wasn't, and I would say things, and they would be like, "Okay, cute," and I'd be like, "No, like I want to understand the complexity of how stars are made." And they're like, "Stars are just," they would just tell me.
They were probably dumbfounded because they couldn't give you a logical answer.
It was the funniest thing. I literally in India, so I remember I being like 8 or something. I was like, went up to an adult. I was like, "What are stars?" And like, it's pieces of the sun that have broken off and floating around. And I was like,
really?
Okay, even as an 8-year-old, I was like, this doesn't make any sense because they're not floating; they're stuck in one place. Thank you very much. I go to the next guy. I was like, "What are stars?" And they're like, "They're diamonds that are studded in the sky." So I was like, "Okay, logically, this makes a lot more sense. They're studded in one place."
Is it really the truth?
But that still, okay, let's vet it. Let's go to another person. So I went to the smartest person I know. It was my cousin. He was a computer engineer. I was like, "What are stars?" And he's like, "They are other suns." And I was like, well, that's a short answer.
Is that like sons and daughters?
Yeah, it could be, you know. So I was like, okay, so these are other sons, and then in my brain, I ran the calculation. I was like, oh, 2/3 of adults don't know what they're talking about.
Well, it's probably pretty accurate on some level.
As an 8-year-old, I made that inference, and I was waiting my whole life. I was like, okay, there have to be the smart ones who are running the entire world, right? Like one day I'll meet them. There have to be really way smarter people than us that are running the world. And then I was, 20 something, and Trump became president. And then at that point I was like, oh, okay, never mind. It's just a bunch of idiots leading a bunch of idiots, and we're all just as stupid and just as smart as each other. And we're like, yeah. But it was just funny. But as far as like speaking my truth, it's been I've been kind of blessed because I had much less family influence, which and before about 3 years ago, I really cued into the fact that came as a blessing to me in many ways.
That what did?
That like my mom wasn't there since I was like 2. My dad kind of left when I was 4.
Okay.
I was raised by my grandpa and grandma who were really intelligent and understanding and caring, and they gave me the space.
Sure.
And they would teach me lessons, but they would also listen to what I'm saying and stuff because they're like pros at raising 7.
Did they tell you what stars meant? What they're made of?
My grandpa confirmed.
Did he?
Yeah, he was a professor, so he kind of confirmed.
So he knew.
Yeah, he actually knew what it was. But they also kind of made it so they were like, okay, like they would listen to what I have to say.
Yeah.
But my grandma passed away when I was 7, and then at 9 I moved to the States, and then I was basically a latchkey kid. So I was kind of given the freedom of like getting to say and do what I want.
Okay.
And then I was bold and kind of crazy enough to just not never, but like mostly I would not keep people around me who didn't want to hear the truth of what I have to say. I would just say it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You know, and that's over time that's become a bit of a luxury for me, where I've spent a life where I really got to just do and say and be who I think I am, without feeling shame around it. But there were a bunch of things that, you know, so just societally it just felt weird to talk about, until I found the right partner who was like, no, that weird stuff,
Like what?
tell me that. I'm not telling you it's weird.
I mean, we're speaking our
weird.
truth. Are we talking about speaking our truth?
You know,
Not the appropriate moment,
No, a bunch of stuff. It's like-
which is understandable.
A bunch of it's like sexual, well, like some crazy shit.
Oh,
Just like,
okay.
You know, unless you want to know my sexual fantasies, I can tell you those too.
Well, no, because we're on YouTube, and
Yeah, no, this child is for its family content. Well, I mean, even just the fact that like I'll say it, I've lived my life knowing that this world is run by a very select few, and that they're manipulating people, and that eventually their plan is to get rid of a lot of us and maintain control of the world under their purview. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked into research. I've tried to disprove a lot of it, and over time it just got proven. And I always was, you know, it's a thing that most people don't want to hear. And so I kind of kept it close to my heart.
Sure.
And now, as with all the stuff that's been going on, it really became a mission of mine to say, like, no, I'm going to say that out loud. Like,
just say no to what?
not even like no to it, but like say out loud that is what I think is going on,
Oh, okay.
and
Got it.
that's how I think of the world.
Okay.
That you
So
may
that
think I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I don't, not in the least.
Yeah.
Because I share some of those viewpoints as well. That, generally speaking, those who are very, very powerful and very, very wealthy, at least what I'm observing now, is that, do they have your best interest and my best interest at heart? Probably not.
Yep.
But when you look at it from their perspective, they believe their truth is also right.
Yeah, they have their own best interests at heart,
Right.
which I don't blame them for it.
Well,
You know,
that's where we really come down to speaking one's truth. You can look at World War II. I just saw something on social media the other day. It said, well, there was the group of people that didn't say anything. There was a group of people that this, and there was a group of people that this, and we really didn't realize what was happening until we started to wear a yellow star.
I just saw that today.
Yeah, and it's like, ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and that's kind of what's happening right now, whether it's through,
And I feel like that yellow star is a vaccine passport now.
well,
Where it's like, show me your.
where when you take away an individual's freedom, okay? And the question could be, are we really free? It's a whole other conversation. But based on what I understood and being able to travel and do and express what we want to
Yep.
in a free forum, okay, and that's being taken away, then it becomes even more important for people to speak their truth.
Yeah, because it feels like it was such a quick shift from going from the world moving towards more freedom. The internet was becoming a land of freedom for a long time. It was given as kind of the place that everybody could express their own views. And over time, it became the antithesis of that.
Sure.
It became one of the biggest means of controlling the freedom of speech that people have, freedom of expression everybody has.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of what happens oftentimes, whether it's a new development technologically or societally. What happens is oftentimes it gets a military application, or it gets an application that really isn't conducive to life. And it becomes another weapon of control. Okay? But that's a whole other conversation.
But do you think there's a concerted effort to keep people from speaking their truth?
Oh, there's no question.
By the powers that be, or whatever you want to call
Yeah,
them?
there's no question that that's happening. You'd have to be literally blind. And there are people I know that, well, you're crazy. It's like, okay, well, come on.
Look at how everything's set up.
Yeah, look at what's all happening, and you can't speak the truth, and you've got fact checkers that say that you can't speak this because it's part truth, but then again, who are the fact checkers being paid by? But people who are very, it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it's a
there's like conflict of interest here. I mean, it used to be in business, there were clear guidelines and clear laws that were put in place that sort of kept that. But and the only way we would get to that kind of some semblance of balance is it had to go completely one direction or another.
Yep.
So that people said, oh, wait a minute, and they spoke their truth. This isn't right. This doesn't feel right as a collective.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also feel like a lot of the not speaking your truth is ingrained into us in school, where it's like
you mean more of a conformity?
Yeah, like where it's like, hey, don't step out of line, don't do things that are different, just sit and listen to authority and kind of follow along with it. And if you think something different, listen to what they have to say.
Look at where it started in the family. Don't speak unless you're spoken to. It's like, ooh, wait a minute.
It's like, what? So I have to wait until you speak to me to have
It used to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Of course,
But
they say things like, the adults are speaking.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh. So I just go talk to Goo Goo Gaga kids. So what are some of the? Can you give us like some examples of like some really profound instances where you've already given a couple of like where somebody wasn't speaking the truth? What did it manifest in their life, and how did you change it, and what benefit did it bring to their life?
Sure. There have been people that I've helped them to speak their truth through workshops and therapy, that some who had cancer went in complete remission. They couldn't figure out why.
Wow.
I have seen...
I mean, I'm not surprised, but that's amazing. Yeah.
I have seen, other things of a similar nature, not as dramatic, but at the very base level, and I think I've shared this before, is when someone really, truly speaks their truth, not only does it release them energetically, it releases all of their lineage who have come before them and who have come after them. There's an emotional sort of auric field that literally shifts in that moment, okay, an energy field that can literally be seen.
Amazing.
And it's really, really powerful. So, speaking the truth can really release and can really open oneself and release that emotional trauma, and it's no longer a part of you.
I feel like if we all just, lived according to our heart and got to say and do what we really felt, even though there would be conflict in some situations, which is like, like the truth disagrees, it's okay. But at least there would be a lot less kind of this feeling of unlived potential, or this unlived, things being kept bottled up rather than being released in the way that they needed to be released. Sure.
When we're able to speak our truth and be heard, I do believe that there needs to be some kind of commonality of understanding. I mean, there should always be free forums that people should be able to speak their truth, no matter what it is, good, bad, or ugly. And it's all about a choice. But I also believe that there should be some sense of a common agreement on some level that says this gives us a base of understanding. Because if we have a bunch of children running around screaming and yelling what they want and the truth, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, we're kind of out of control. So, speaking the truth within an environment that
facilitates it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, it was like breath work. Like, not even just speaking the truth, it was like breath work brought out I was like screaming at the top of my lungs. I felt like I needed to do that, and there was so much bottled up.
You bet.
That like, first you kind of started with breath work, then some emotions come out, then it's like you're crying, then it's like you're screaming and crying and laughing, and like there's this blend of it.
I was just reading something by Tom Kenyon, who was a psychotherapist for many years, and he does a lot of work. I won't go into that, but he's done a lot of that. Where one of the things I was just interesting, I was reading it last night because I've read it before, one of his books, and he talked about that. He said, as children, when you look at children, they express exactly what they need at the moment they need it. They cry, they scream, they roll around, whatever, boop, they're done. And he said, it's one of the things that we as an adult or in our adolescence, we should learn to be able to do. Now, however, it doesn't mean you start screaming, you're doing whatever if you're in a setting that's not necessary or really not a good place to do it. But go home and do it. Release that energy. At the
even
very
just by
basic.
Yourself.
Absolutely. Why not? You know, if you're feeling lots of anger, go home, scream in a pillow, or what I recommend to a lot of people is clench your hands and fist, your feet and your toes.
Yeah.
And you can do that without somebody watching you.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're in a conversation.
So do you feel like even you know, if you feel like you can't literally speak your truth, you just doing that by yourself would be cathartic?
Absolutely. One of the exercises I do with people is oftentimes they come into a new revelatory place in their life that, oh my God, I've never really said this. Good. Write it on a yellow stick-em note and stick it on your bathroom mirror, your refrigerator. Every time you walk by it, let it remind you of speaking your truth. Because once you do it, see, in the beginning when you start speaking your truth, we're a little frightened. You know, we don't know what's going to happen on the other end.
Yep.
Okay, so oftentimes our way of surviving and not feeling levels of abandonment, we withhold our truth because that person won't love me. Yeah. The real kicker is if you speak your truth and they love you, you're in.
Yeah, you found the right one.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're sort of cowering around and you're not really expressing yourself.
Yeah.
It becomes subtle anxiousness, resentment, anger. That's what happens.
Yeah, it builds up over time.
Eventually. So yeah, speaking your truth. And there was what did I do the other day? I had a young woman I was working with. Exactly that. Speak your truth. And in a situation, she said, well, I did this. And I kept telling her she should have done this or she should have done that. I said, well, wait a minute. Is that really the truth?
Yeah.
I said, what if you spoke your truth, shifting the perspective to the I message and to your heart?
What do you mean?
And she said exactly what she said. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I said, and it was a situation where she spent a month and a half with a good friend of hers in Nusa Penida, one of the islands, close quarters. And the woman was complaining and bitching the whole time. And she's just like, I couldn't take it anymore. And we ended on a bad note. And I said, how could you have spoken your truth and created a loving boundary for you that would also be for her? I don't know. I said, I know you don't know yet. I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
What I did was I looked at her and I said, okay, now you have a situation that you let go for a month and a half. Okay? You're angry, you're resentful. And I said, what if you told her, you spoke from the I message, you know what, whatever her name was, you know, I can really see that you're really depressed or something's going on for you, that you're continually carrying this pattern of behavior. And, you know, I'm really not comfortable with it. And I love your company and I'd love to spend time with you. But if this is where we're going, I can't do this. And she goes, oh my God, I never thought about that. Because she immediately, when I asked her that question, well, I told her she spent too much money and the Balinese this and da-da-da. And it's like, it's just a round robin.
Yeah. And it's her, you.
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
you,
And I said, stop pointing the finger, because when you're pointing the finger at somebody, there 4 of them are pointing back at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it doesn't lead anywhere well.
Yeah, so basically, speak your truth from a self-loving place using the I message from your heart. And it's hard to do the first few times.
Of course.
Because it's like, oh shit, well, how's she going to respond? And it's like I would tell her.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how she responds.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's her trigger. That's her shit.
Yeah. That's for her to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, once you do it once, twice, 3, 4 times, it just kind of rolls off naturally.
Yeah.
And then you don't get into that point of resentment and anger. And it's like you create boundaries. Excuse me. And one of the most important things I find that I've had people come, I demand respect from people. I said, really? How far has it gotten you so far?
How's that been working out?
And, you know, I said, I can tell you one thing.
Yeah.
That when you speak your truth from the I message and from your heart, people will either respect you and become closer friend to you, or they're not going to play your game
and just leave.
They're done.
It's so good. It's so good. It's like
why wouldn't it be?
It's like a self-filtering mechanism.
And you spoke your truth from a place of love.
Yeah.
You respected and honored them as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful way of like you said, you know, there should be some kind of base level understanding.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful way of setting that understanding in a way, because you're speaking your truth. The people who resonate, they're going to come closer. The people who don't resonate, they're going to kind of float away. And there isn't like, there's not animosity in it.
There will be a greater level of respect.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of what I like. That the internet has allowed is you know, it's allowed you to find a little community that resonates with what you're saying.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's also turned into silos of like echo chambers of let's all just say the exact same things and like not allow anybody with any other. Because one thing I also believe in is like listening to somebody else's truth that may not be how I think about things.
Okay.
You know, like listening to often the opposite of what I think for the sake of having that opportunity and keeping those people around me, because you know what I may think is my truth from my experiences
may change after you hear their story.
May change. Maybe there's something that I realize from them that I'm like, okay, that kind of shifts my perspective.
You bet.
Or it might just be something where it's an interesting conversation. I love having a conversation with people who don't agree with me.
Yeah. See, we've come to a point of view.
Unlike you agree with me on everything.
I'm at a hoodoo, huh?
You agree with me on too many things. I don't
know. You know, it's like oh shoot, what I was going to say.
I like discussing it with people I don't agree with. What was it? That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And I think
we're now in that sort of frame of reference that if someone disagrees with me, they're my enemy.
Yeah.
Is sort of what happens, instead of, well, wait a minute, where's the middle ground?
Yeah.
And the part of that middle ground can be, I don't agree with what you think is truth, but I heard what you had to say. And out of respect, you navigate life.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's a lot of life is that.
Yeah.
You may have to work with people who you don't agree with, but you still work. You still, it doesn't mean that you can't be in the same space as them.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the world works the way that it does because we all believe different things and we see different versions of the truth. Because there is no. Do you believe there's objective truth? Is there like a source truth?
Yeah, I do believe that.
Ooh, now we're getting territory.
You're talking about the spiritual truth.
Yeah, like what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, we could look at it in a couple of ways.
Yeah.
I believe that there is a truth of each individual's expression through them. And what I mean by that is what we're familiar with is sort of a 3D world. Okay? Height, length, depth, width, whatever it is. And there's another realms beyond that energetically. Okay? It's more of a feeling state. That when I talk about source, it's the ultimate truth from the perspective that everything exists. Everything. You draw from it based upon what you wish to experience as your truth. Okay, because source itself just holds the space. Okay.
So wait, so it's still my version of that truth.
Sure.
It's not really objective.
If you're looking at it from a religious perspective, it's usually been generated by scholars, men over history. Again, we talked about this. Where's the feminine or the female aspect of all of this?
Yeah.
We've gotten one side of the story. Okay. One gender ruling all gender.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that really the ultimate truth?
No.
It is a part of the truth.
No.
Because everything. So that's one way of looking at it. But what I am learning myself is there is a level of truth, of understanding that flows through me that is so, I don't even know how to explain this, so moving, so connected that it usually allows me to become emotionally connected to it. Not from an emotional perspective that I'm out of control or I'm crying, whatever, but this sense of expansiveness, energy, that when I enter into that, or my understanding of truth, something happens. And we were talking about this earlier, and I was going to share something about it. We were talking about the heart, and what it does is it opens levels of kindness and compassion that are otherworldly. And to the point that when that truth is present, you understand that everything is to exist. Everything.
I was just going to say, like, that, if there's a few kind of universal truths that I've realized and been led to in my life, it's like what you say is that, like, everything is love.
Yeah.
You know, it just feels, just feeling that. Again, I was led to by psychedelics, but it's becoming that base frequency of love, and then coming back to like life. You realize, okay, if there's one thing I know, everything is love, and everything is one. You know, all these kind of like cliche things that have been said across cultures, said across everywhere.
Yeah.
You realize that, like, okay, this stuff is true no matter what.
But we've come to live in a world up until now of duality, pain, good, bad, light, dark, all of that.
Yeah.
And I believe this is another time in human history that we have the ability to transcend that into what you're talking about, and into a higher level of awareness, that we are constructing this, that we are creating it.
Even this, what we're talking about, it's a really difficult conversation for a lot of people to have. It's a difficult thing for a lot of people to express because it's considered woo-woo.
Yeah.
It's like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting waved off.
Yeah.
Hi, Itchy's always behind the camera. We always have.
Was that a 5 minutes, or are we done?
Yeah. No, we'll have 5 minutes.
Oh, we have 5 minutes. So we got a couple more minutes.
So what's, you know, in closing?
Yeah.
What do you recommend for people?
What? Speaking their truth?
Yeah. What should people do?
Simple.
Help us.
101.
Help us.
Well, read Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 Agreements. It's very simple. There's four things that he mentions, and I can't even tell you what it is because I read it so many years ago. But it's a great place to start if you don't know anywhere to start. Or
what's it called again?
It's called the 4 Agreements. Speak your truth.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of them. Speak your truth. Yeah. Don't take what other people tell you. I forget
personally.
What it is. Yeah, personally.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of others.
Yeah.
And if you really allow that to begin to percolate inside of you and to sink in, and you really, really start to believe that, you then start becoming a witness of what's happening. Okay? Now it gives you freedom of choice. Okay? Freedom of choice to speak your truth or not speak your truth, but from a place of awareness.
Yep.
Okay? So it's beautiful. That's a great place to start. The other would be in speaking your truth is, like I did with this young girl, if there's something in your life that you know, whether you're in a partnership, a family relationship, or whatever, you know you've always kept stuffing this down.
Yep.
It keeps coming up, and, you know, it's just, that's a real good indication, an indicator that, okay, sit with it.
Yeah.
See where it's in the body, ask it what it needs and how it wants to, you know, what it wants to say. And then I would suggest writing.
Yep.
So that it uses a different part of the brain. And I would also say to rehearse. Let's say that something happened in your family. Yep. Brother or sister does the same thing. You just got to the point of, I can't do this anymore. I don't even want to see them. Okay? You take that, you sort of process it, not from the perspective that I'm triggered and I'm kind of angry, but why are they saying that?
Yep.
What's it really about? How do I play into this? What's my part? Okay? And then eventually just come to that place where I write something, again, from the I message and from my heart. Okay? Not from a place where I want to blast my brother or sister. Well, you SOB, but from a perspective of it's not the issue itself. It's how we relate to the issue. Okay, is the real importance. And if you come from the I message and you speak your truth, and let's say, for instance, there's something that somebody does in your family that really perturbs you all the time, and you've never really said anything your whole life, is to look at them and say, you know how much I love you, don't you? I really value you're part of my life. But there's something that really has been bothering me, and I need to share it with you.
No.
Would you listen? See how I'm asking? I'm asking questions.
Yeah, I love that.
Open-ended questions. I'm not saying, you did this and you did that, because that just puts someone on the defensive.
Yeah.
And don't do it from a place that you're kind of like insincere.
Yeah.
Because that comes across.
Yeah.
And even if it's uncomfortable, but from the greatest level of sincerity. So, you know, can I talk to you about something? I need to share something that's really, and maybe I'm not seeing it correctly. Can you help me understand?
Yeah.
And then tell them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a brother or sister or somebody that loves you, they might be kind of thrown off for a moment. It's like, what? Oh my God, what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
You know, is usually a response that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But when that other person really listens to you, if they love you, and they care about you, yeah, what?
Yeah.
Okay, and they may not receive it well
Yeah.
because it may trigger them, and they're not this aware of what you know.
Yep.
So it's a great way to start, and do something really small. I mean, don't go into something that's been 20 years in the making and then you're about ready to explode. Forget that.
Yeah.
One of the things I tell people is when you are emotionally charged, do not make a decision and do not enter into something.
Yep.
Take a step back,
Yeah.
breathe, like you said, breath work. Absolutely key essential. Breath work, meditation, something that takes you out of that energy and look at it from as an objective point of view as possible.
Amazing.
So that makes sense?
Amazing. I love that. I love
Yeah.
all the truth you spoke with me today. You're a good truth speaker. Kevin, the best truth speaker.
No. I'm learning just like the rest of them, but thank you.
We love having you. We love hearing these kind of deep analyses of stuff that I wish I could verbalize, but I can't. One day, I hope I can.
I am in the process of learning to do it. Please change what you're saying.
See, I'm in the process of learning how to do it properly. I can do it.
Yeah, because you just told the universe, I want to do it, but I can't.
Yeah.
So what does that tell the subconscious? I'm not ready yet.
Yeah. And you're telling yourself, I can't. Therefore,
Exactly.
you're holding the truth back on purpose.
Is to say that I'm ready. I'm in the process. I don't know my way yet.
Yeah.
I'm learning it.
I'm not a Kevin yet, but I'm sure on my way.
Don't put that burden on me.
Kevin, pretty soon. Be like an Indian Kevin.
No,
All right, guys.
so-
Thank you so much for joining. We love
Yeah.
you all. Hope you're speaking your truth through this, and we'll see you